Great. Thank you so much for the introduction. And I'm excited today to tell you a little bit more about the NAIRR pilot. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So the vision for the NAIRR is a national infrastructure, and it's a national infrastructure that connects the research and the education communities to the AI resources that are needed to accelerate AI innovation and discovery and national competitiveness for our country. The resources that are envisioned to be part of this national infrastructure are not only computing resources, but yes, computing resources, high quality data sets, training materials, models, software, and really critically expertise and user support. There are four key goals that are called out as part of the vision for this national infrastructure, and those are to spur innovation for the country, increase the overall diversity of talent in AI, improve the country's ability and capacity for AI R&D, and then really to advance a more trustworthy AI ecosystem. Next slide. So I think it's worth noting, the history and how we got here with the NAIRR pilot, because it has a little bit of a different background than some people expect. So in 2020 is when this effort really took off, and it was the National Artificial Intelligence Act from 2020, the Artificial Intelligence Initiative Act, I should say, that legislated the creation of a NAIRR task force. And this was 12 people from industry, academia, and government that worked together for very intensely, actually, for 18 months to determine if this concept for a national infrastructure was feasible, and if so, to provide a roadmap. And so they worked very diligently and published this report in January of 2023, about 2 years ago. And after that, an interagency task force, or an interagency working group, was formed with 14 different agencies. NSF is the lead agency in this effort. And in January of this year, so just about 11 months ago or so, we launched a pilot for the NAIRR. And so you can go to the next slide. The goals really of the pilot are to demonstrate the potential and the impact of the full NAIRR concept. And so what we are doing together with our agency partners is we're using our existing resources as well as contributions from some of our non-governmental partners to demonstrate the potential of this national infrastructure. And so 12 different agencies are contributing. You can see they are listed here on the left, and each agency is bringing their own expertise and capabilities to the NAIRR pilot. So for example, the Department of Energy and NIH are co-leading an effort called NAIRR Secure, which is really investigating how more sensitive research topics or data sets can be supported in an NAIRR. Agencies like NOAA and NASA have brought data sets and models and made those available through the pilot as well. And all these different agencies are contributing to the governance structure. Next slide. So we also have 26 non-governmental partners. And so this is really a unique public and private partnership. You can see the name of our partners listed on the left, which includes some of the largest technology companies, but also a number of nonprofits, small startups, and they're contributing a range of capabilities such as access to cloud computing resources, expertise, API access to models, and access to open resources as well. Next slide. And so I mentioned this. Our goal is really to support some novel research while reaching new communities, and then gain a lot of experience. So as we have the opportunity to scale to a full NAIRR, that we will have a lot of lessons learned under our belt. Next slide. So what are we going for here? So in terms of a design, we envision researchers, and these researchers can be core fundamental AI researchers. They can be researchers in a domain science area that are integrating and developing AI for their own applications, or they could be students and educators. And these researchers and educators gain access to resources through a NAIRR portal. You can see our pilot portal at nairrpilot.org, and they gain access to a set of resources. What's important to note here is this is not a request for funding. It is allocation of resources. So think GPU hours, access to models, access to data sets. Those are the type of resources that are being made available through the NAIRR pilot. Next slide. So the message here for the community is that researchers and educators can apply for these resources now and today. There's resources for educators, and that's kind of the first bucket there. Educators can gain access to, say, Jupyter-like notebooks for teaching in their own classroom. That's one thing we've heard repeatedly is that our teachers and educators at the really need access to resources for students. There's resources for researchers as well. And then there's a category, we call it data models and more, which are open resources that do not, they do not require an application to gain access. Next slide. And so here's just a kind of a spotlight of some of the different resources that are available. There's traditional advanced computing resources that are available through a number of agencies, NSF and Department of Energy. And then you can see the resources from some of our non-governmental partners. And again, this is a wider array of resources, whether it's compute grants from Hugging Space, software licenses from Weights and Biases, or model access from one of the model developers as well. Next slide. So far, there are over 200 different research teams that are supported through the NAIRR pilot effort, and they span a very wide range of different science topics, from environmental research to kind of core fundamental AI research as well. And it's been really very heartening to see the number of requests that are coming in and the different research areas. We know that these resources are absolutely critical for the research community, and are very pleased that we can offer this resource for them. So next slide. So we're also really closely tracking our geographic reach. The NAIRR is envisioned to be a resource for researchers across the country in every state and community. And so far, we have researchers in about 40 different states. We're doing a lot of outreach to those communities where we haven't yet received applications. And so, we just had an outreach event with researchers in North and South Dakota, and I'm also looking to set one up for some of the inland areas in California. So this is really a key goal for the NAIRR pilot, is to make sure that communities across the country, researchers in every state, are aware of these critical resources. I think another key point to call out here is that a researcher does not have to have NSF funding in order to gain access to these resources. The goal for the NAIRR really is to be a national resource, and so that every individual agency doesn't have to set up their own, mini NAIRR, but it provides really a clearinghouse, a way that researchers, regardless of their funding stream, can gain access to resources. And all of these researchers are eligible. You can see a number of the agencies that where our research teams have funding. Next slide. So far, I've spoken quite a bit about how to apply and gain access to these resources, but there's even a bigger vision for the NAIRR as well, which is to provide access to open data sets and models. And so there's a number of agency resources, data sets and models that are available. And we've just put out an opportunity for the community to contribute data sets and models, particularly those that are focused on um, education and training. It's envisioned that the NAIRR would provide access to secure enclaves to allow researchers to have easier access to some of that secure data, particularly think of statistical data. And then we know it's very critical that researchers have to interact with data. They have to filter, clean, wrangle data in order to even get it ready for to be ready for computing. And so that is envisioned to be part of the pilot as well. We have a number of demonstration projects along those lines. Next slide. So I'll pause here for a moment so people can get those QR codes. We have a number of these 3 different opportunities that are open right now. The first, as I mentioned, is an opportunity to contribute data sets to the pilot. And that focus area, again, is to facilitate AI education and researcher skill development. The second opportunity is open for about 5 more days, and this is an opportunity to train, educate, or build communities around NAIRR Pilot resources. We've seen that many people are interested, but they need help getting started. So a concept outline for that is due by December 15th. And then finally, there's the opportunity to apply to use NAIRR resources that I've talked about on nairrpilot.org. Next slide. Then perhaps something that's really interesting to the open ACC community here is what would be the software environment on a future NAIRR. And what's envisioned is it's always envisioned that the NAIRR would have a number of distributed resources. But the NAIRR Task Force report calls for a NAIRR software stack that could be used across many of these resources. That might be a thin, a thin VM. And we actually just had a workshop co-sponsored with DOE last week, and so we'll have a report coming out in a couple of months that highlights some initial directions. Next slide. And so really our plan to evolve the pilot in the next 18 months is really to continue to enhance our capabilities and operations. We focused a lot on getting these partner resources available to the community in the last year. I think we'll really be focusing on some of those data resources as we go forward in this next year. We really are continuing community outreach, user support. Onboarding will be a key theme in this next year. And we're also really assessing progress. We plan to publish an interim report in the early March timeframe and to identify gaps and lessons learned.